What's good, y'all? It's your boy Treywrld, and today we back with another video, you feel me? Now today, we got bad gimmicks on great wrestlers. Now, I know, before, there was a Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare. There was a Goldust. I mean, not Goldust, Stardust. Yeah, that was his gimmick. And before the Stardust, Cody had many other gimmicks before that, but the worst one, or a decent one in some people's eyes, I guess, maybe, I don't know, is Stardust. It is Stardust, and Cody himself does not like that gimmick. That also, before Undertaker, I forgot what Undertaker's other gimmick was, but you know, they had to build themselves to get over with the crowd, to get their character over with the crowd, and it was even hard for Cody to get Stardust over with the crowd, and it basically worked. It worked though. So yeah, we finna check this video out. The original video will always be in the link in the description below. Without further ado, let's get into it.
It goes without saying there have been many great wrestlers over the years. After all, everyone has their favorites, but sometimes those favorites have a mountain to climb when it comes to getting over with even the most ardent fans. And that can be because they've been given a terrible gimmick to work with. Yes, even the best of them sometimes must make the best out of what they're handed from time to time. But what are the best examples of great wrestlers given bad gimmicks in wrestling history? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at right now, starting with the man of the hour, Cody Rhodes, and the period he played the character of Stardust.
Oh my god, bro. That was so funny. And I kid you not, y'all. I kid you not. Cody used to do that voice. That voice was nasty, bro. It was nasty, though. I don't know, man. At first, I kind of felt Stardust a little bit. But nah, man. I wasn't rocking with it. I was not rocking with it, bro. I was rocking with it because it's Cody. I'm rocking with it because it's Cody. Stardust, it's like, nah, bro. That wouldn't hit at all.
Now, we all know and love Cody Rhodes, as he's now one of the biggest stars in all of wrestling. But things weren't always so bright for the American Nightmare. No, back in the mid-2010s, his career was on a much worse trajectory, and that was largely because of the bad gimmick he'd been saddled with. What was this gimmick? Well, as we mentioned a moment ago, it was Stardust, a bizarre and flamboyant cartoon character who served as the sidekick to his older brothers, Goldust.
Oh my god. The voices, bro. The voices. That's just so funny. That's on point, man.
Understandably then, this mid-card comedy gimmick did Cody little favors, as even if he threw himself into it feet first, it was impossible for anyone to get too invested in something so goofy. No, even many fans of the new generation era took one look at Stardust and thought it was a bit much, and that was why, come 2016, after having played the character for a full 2 years and gotten nowhere in the process, Cody—
Like, bro, I can't. Cody with face paint, bro, like this, I can't, bro. I really can't. I'm just not feeling it, bro. And Cody said it himself. He said that when him and Sami Zayn was coming up from NXT, and Sami seen them, Sami kind of chuckled a little bit when he seen him in the elevator, all in the suit with the face paint and everything. He just chuckled a little bit, and Cody said he was like, So yeah, I see what he's saying now, because this ain't it. This ain't Cody for real. The Cody I know is dashing Cody Rhodes, and American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, not Stardust. But we wouldn't have the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes if it wasn't for Stardust. Yeah, that's still a part of him, but yeah.
He would decide to leave WWE altogether and bet on himself out on the indie circuit. Of course, we all know how well that went for him now, but Back at the time, it was a major risk to leave such a comfortable job behind in WWE. That said, when he was being asked to play something as bad as Stardust, we can understand why it would be creatively frustrating. And we can also understand why, since returning to WWE in 2022, the youngest Rhodes' son has seemingly had little to no interest in ever bringing the gimmick back up again on TV. But Cody isn't the only member of the illustrious Rhodes family who had to put up with a terrible gimmick during his first run in WWE. No, back during the late 80s and early 90s at the tail end of the golden era, his father Dusty would have to do the same thing when he memorably donned the polka dots. Many remember this one, we're sure, as it was so ludicrous it can't help but become ingrained in your mind once you see it for the first time. Take Dusty Rhodes, one of the biggest superstars of the territory era. Hell, one of the biggest superstars in wrestling history, and bring him into WWF with such a wacky gimmick. Sure, the idea of Dusty being the common man was nothing new, as for years prior to that he'd prided himself on being the living embodiment of the American dream, the son of a plumber who'd pulled himself up out of the dirt to become an NWA World's Champion, but never before had that American dream required him to wear the polka dots and act like a much more cartoonish version of himself.
I never seen the polka dot, the polka dot fit with Dusty Rhodes. I have never seen a Dusty Rhodes match. I want to. I hear a lot about him, and I know Dusty Rhodes is one of the greatest because he's also brought a lot of wrestlers' careers up. Some of the careers that happened were basically because of Dusty Rhodes. Roman Reigns, for instance. Cody Rhodes, for instance. His son, Dustin Rhodes. His oldest son. Like, bro, what did he influence Randy? No, but he influenced a lot of people from NXT, and we wouldn't have them if it weren't for Dusty Rhodes. And Dusty Rhodes is the GOAT for that. He really is the GOAT for that. Rest in peace, Dusty Rhodes.
So what was the reason for Dusty being given the polka dot gear when he joined WWF in 1989? Well, Dusty had for a long time been the top face of Jim Crockett Promotions, one of the top competitors to the WWF. So when he finally made his debut in Vince McMahon's company, he was booked as more of a mid-card act, making it clear he was going to be booked as secondary on the pecking order to
But there's one thing I have seen, and I've seen this man's promos, and I promise you this man is black. This man is black. This man is black.
top stars like Hulk Hogan. But even if it wasn't ideal for Dusty, what the boss never fully counted on was the fact that Dusty was so good, so filled with charisma, he'd actually be able to get the polka dot clad dancing gimmick over with fans in feuds against the likes of Macho Man Randy Savage and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. That's right, some people are so great even a questionable gimmick can't keep them down for long. And of course it also helped that Dusty had that amazing WWF theme song. Who couldn't help but dance along to that whenever it started playing? But not every former star of the Southern Territories got the luxury of having a great theme song to help them offset their gimmick when they joined WWE. No, when it comes to our next subject, Barry Windham, his time in the WWF would only be remembered for the awful character of the Stalker, failing to get over it all. To be fair to Barry...
Whoa, wait. What kind of wrestling name is the Stalker? Oh my goodness, what? What? The Stalker? Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's keep it going.
Though it would have been nigh on impossible for anyone to get the Stalker over. Even Ric Flair would have struggled with this. And the Sweetwater native should have never been put in this spot in the first place, as back during the 80s he was one of the top stars of the North American wrestling scene, with his run in Jim Crockett Promotions during the latter half of the decade going so well that he'd actually become both a member of the Four Horsemen and a former NWA World's Champion. Hell, even during the mid-80s he'd been able to have a brief run in the WWF as one half of the US Express alongside Mike Rotunda, so it wasn't like Vince McMahon didn't know he was good. That said, when he returned to WWF in 1996, anything he'd done well in the past would be thrown out the window, as this was the point he was tasked with playing the Stalker. Who was the Stalker? Well, he was a man who roamed around the woods in camouflage makeup, stalking people. No, you didn't hear us wrong. This was the character former NWA World's Champion Barry Windham was asked to play when he arrived in WWF.
Bro, what kind of character is that, bro? What? It just still blows my mind, bro. Like the Stalker. Really? Hold on. Really? Really? Is that the best you could come up with for this man? Really? Like what? No. No, you got me messed up. I am not coming back to play just a person that stalks people. No. No, I'm not doing that.
UF in 1996. Why was he stalking people? That wasn't clear exactly. All we knew about his motives came from his catchphrase, "Don't ever believe your eyes, because what you see may not be exactly what you think you see." Yes, if there were ever a gimmick that was dead on arrival, then this was it. So that was why, during his initial feud with Goldust, fans would sleepwalk through the proceedings, with this only serving to speed up the demise of the character altogether. Yes, it was in early 1997 that the Stalker gimmick would be mercifully dropped, as Barry Windham instead reverted back to being his old self, a hard-drinking, ass-kicking Texan. And this led to him teaming up with Justin Hawk Bradshaw to become one half of the new Blackjacks. Sure, this one didn't exactly see him find much success either, but it was better than playing a man who hung around in the woods.
Yes, honestly, bro, that is way better. That is way better. Honestly. Cause Jesus Christ, the Stalker, bro, that's still crazy, bro. That's still crazy.
And believe it or not, this wouldn't be the only time WWE gave a former world champion a Stalker gimmick once they debuted with the promotion, because years later in 2001, the exact same thing would happen with Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
What a shame this one was. After all, back during the late 90s, Diamond Dallas Page was easily one of the biggest stars in all of wrestling. So great was he, in fact, he'd managed to do what almost no one else had been able to do, and that was break through the main event glass ceiling in WCW to become a true top guy, right there alongside the likes of Hulk Hogan, Sting, and Ric Flair. So you'd think that when WCW went out of business in 2001 then, and DDP decided to make the jump to WWF instead, Vince McMahon would be overjoyed to have such a talent added to his arsenal.
Right.
Well, not quite. So it was then that rather than debuting Dallas in WWF during the invasion as the People's Champion of the South, someone who could maybe even get into a feud with The Rock over who was the real holder of that moniker, DDP was in...
Hold on. I just seen a young Michael Cole, man. Damn, Michael. Damn.
Instead revealed as the man who'd been stalking The Undertaker's wife, Sarah. Why had DDP been stalking Sarah, especially when it was already clear that he had a wife of his own in Kimberly Page? Well, that was because he wanted to get in the dead man's head and force him to make him famous by fighting him one-on-one in the ring. For sure, you can see the flaw in this plan then, that flaw being Diamond Dallas Page was already famous to many fans in 2001.
Exactly.
But then, in the mind of Vince McMahon, WCW didn't count. And so because of that, he only saw DDP as a guy who'd gotten over in the minor leagues, but who hadn't proved himself anywhere else yet. And because McMahon didn't see DDP as a star then, it meant all the potential in pushing him hard in the WWF was wasted, as instead, after being revealed as the Stalker, Page got buried by The Undertaker in record time. But what of one of the other guys who managed to break through that glass ceiling in WCW? The one not named Bill Goldberg. Did he ever have a terrible gimmick of his own to work with? Why, yes he did. And that gimmick is our next entry, in fact. Yes, it's time to talk about the sad case of Booker T and his run as G.I. Bro.
Oh,
now, we all know how...
No. I think I know this one. Oh, God. I've heard about the DDP gimmick. I heard about that one before. That him being a stalker, that was crazy because he was like, again, like the bro said, he was already cool. He was already hot. People were loving him. But bro, GI bro, oh goodness, oh bro.
Great Booker T is. It doesn't matter if it's his run as tag team partner to Goldust, his run as King Booker, or his time spent in TNA as a member of the Main Event Mafia who occasionally moonlighted as Black Snow. Hell, it doesn't even matter if we're talking about his early run in WCW as one half of Harlem Heat alongside his brother Stevie Ray, that or his later period spent in the main event becoming the 5-time WCW champion. Booker T was always awesome.
Yep.
Except there was one period where he wasn't so awesome. Not that this was any fault of his, though. No, it was more the gimmick he'd been given to work with that was to blame. What was that gimmick? Well, it was G.I. Bro. Yes, back during WCW 2000, there was a period where, after splitting with Stevie Ray, Booker decided to join another stable,
Who's that?
that of the Misfits in Action, a group who were all brought together by their shared military theme.
Wait, wait, who is that? Who was that? No, hold on.
Splitting with Stevie Ray, Booker decided.
Who is this? Who is this, bro? That face paint looks crazy. I thought something was actually wrong with his face. Oh my god. For the old heads, if there's some old heads that watch my reaction stuff, can somebody please tell me who this is? Please, cause this face paint looks crazy, bro.
Decided to join another stable, that of the Misfits in Action, a group who were all brought together by their shared military theme. And this group were given names that were bad puns, with these names including Private Stash, Major Guns, and General Hugh G. Reaction. And then, of course, there was Booker's gimmick, G.I. Bro.
Wait a minute, bro. Wait a minute. I'm so late. I'm so late. What did I just hear? What did I just hear? Bro's name was Huge Erection. Huge Erection. What are we talking about? What are we talking about right now? Bro's name is Huge Erection. Huge Erection. Bro, what? Keep it going, man.
Bro. Of course, years prior to this, Booker had already played this gimmick for a brief period on the independent circuit too, with it never getting him over to anywhere near the level as he later would as Booker T. So it was then that by the time the summer of 2000 came around, he'd have dropped the whole G.I. Bro act for the second time and would have instead reverted back to being just plain old Booker T, with it being at this point he finally reached the top of the mountain and became WCW World Champion for the first of 5 times. But not everyone was lucky enough to overcome a bad gimmick and go on to win multiple world titles after the fact. No, some never managed to win a world title at all. And that was the case with our next subject, William Regal.
No, not William Regal. Not William Regal. No. Not William Regal, man.
Became the real man's man. Oh, yes, we all know that.
No, bro. But that one was kind of funny, though. That was kind of funny.
William Regal is in the class with the likes of Owen Hart, Roddy Piper, and Jake Roberts, all great wrestlers who never won a world title. But he's also in that unfortunate class of wrestlers who once had to deal with a bad gimmick. And for him, that gimmick came in 1998. This was when, after joining WWF during the heights of the Attitude Era, he'd find himself being given a whole new character. So what idea would WWF's booking team have in mind for Regal then? A man who grew up in the north of England working that old world of sports style and who had a reputation for being one of the best technical wrestlers on the planet? Well, that would be the real man's man, of course. A character who liked nothing more than to do manly things like chop wood, shave, and drink orange juice.
Just, bro,
yeah,
like, what?
There may have.
What? What is that? What is that, bro? That's not William Regal. That's like what? Drink orange juice. No, bro, that's not William Regal, bro. That's not.
Been a charm to this gimmick. It's certainly funny in that so bad it's good kind of way.
Yeah.
But this was certainly not the ideal character for William Regal to get over in a major way in 1998. No, what he needed was a shooter-style character like what Dan the Beast Severn or Ken Shamrock had, as this would have allowed him to shine by using the things he was best at. In the end, though, things didn't work out that way for the Englishman, and so instead he got given something more comedic in its nature. Still, at least William Regal isn't the only person who was having to deal with a bad repackaging during that first half of the Attitude Era. No, elsewhere on the show, a certain former Earthquake, a man who went by the government name of John Tenta, was having to do something similar with the character of Golga. Of course, you wouldn't have known it was John Tenta playing this character unless someone told you, though, because he was hidden so well behind a mask, there was no way of knowing the identity of the mysterious oddity.
You don't even look like he could see.
At first glance. But then maybe that's for the best, as we imagine many people don't want to associate Golga with Earthquake. After all,
No.
Earthquake was a top guy. And this was true from the point he debuted with the WWF in 1989 and throughout the Golden Era. Hell, here was a character that could be equally as great at being the big monster heel going up against Hulk Hogan as he was at being the lovable babyface who could serve as one half of a super heavyweight tag team alongside Typhoon. So it's easy to see why the gimmick is remembered so fondly today. Unfortunately though, the same love would not be given to Golga when he debuted in 1998. Why was that? Well, Golga didn't really do much of anything outside of dance and show a fanboy-like love for Eric Cartman from South Park. But then none of the oddities really did much during their WWF runs, and that's true no matter which member of the stable we're talking about, be that Giant Silva, Kurrgan, or even the Insane Clown Posse. Of course, them doing so little was probably the point though, as they were always meant to be.
You just made them circus acts, bro. That's all they did. That was, ugh. Ew.
Be treated like a circus.
Not there's anything wrong with being in a circus. You could be in a circus, but no. Actually, there is kind of things wrong with being in a circus. They be kind of, some of them be kind of messing with animals, but still, yeah, this is a circus act for wrestling. Nah, that's nah.
His sideshow rather than a powerhouse wrestling act.
Yeah.
And no one was more of a sideshow within this group than Golga, because rather than being the mega overstar he had been in WWF before, all John Tenta got to do with this character was portray a man who hid behind a mask. Really, the question should have been, why not just have Earthquake return at this point and get some value out of the Canadian instead of having him locked away in this comedy undercard role?
Right.
Well, the reasons for that, if you believe the rumor and innuendo, are twofold. For one, Tenta had apparently lost a lot of weight since the early 90s, and so it was felt he could no longer convincingly play the super heavyweight Earthquake. And on top of that, there was a belief by Vince McMahon that there simply wasn't enough nostalgia associated with the Earthquake character to merit bringing it back in 1998. So because of this, what we instead got was one of the strangest gimmicks of the era, and one of the few that couldn't get over during a time when everyone was getting over. But it could be worse. It could be the gimmick our next big man was saddled with when he returned from an absence from the WWE in 2012. Who are we talking about this time? Who else but
Bro, I remember this one. Oh man. And then they put him with Brodus Clay. Oh my god, that was thing, bro.
Prince Albert, and the time he became Lord Tensai. Yes.
Yeah, well, they ended up putting him with Brodus Clay. This is like what, later on. I forgot about this. I forgot about this one.
Let's flash back to the Attitude Era again for a moment, as that was where Prince Albert first rose to prominence as a dependable mid-card act, whose most notable feature was that he had the hairiest back the wrestling world had seen.
God damn. Hold on.
Flash back to the Attitude Era again for a moment, as that was where Prince Albert first rose to prominence as a dependable mid-card act, whose most notable feature.
God damn. That's a hairy ass back. Got a Bigfoot ass back. Werewolf back. Wolverine back. Damn. Just got just back. That's a hairy back, bro. Jesus.
Feature was that he had the hairiest back the wrestling world had seen since the days of George the Animal Steele. It didn't matter if we were talking about his original incarnation as a tag team partner to Draws, his later stable with Test and Trish Stratus, or his eventual transformation into A-Train, a member of X Factor. Matt Bloom always played his role well. So solid would he be in this role, in fact, after he left WWE in 2004, he'd find himself working over in Japan for a while, where he became a two-time IWGP Tag Team Champion. And this was what led to the idea of rebranding him as an ancient mystic Asian warrior named Lord Tensai when he returned to the Fed in 2012, with the idea here being to never reference that Bloom had ever been in WWE prior under a different guise. The only problem with this, though, was that even if he dressed differently and even if he now had tattoos painted on his face, this was very clearly still Prince Albert. There was simply no mistaking it. And so almost immediately then, fans started chanting for Albert during Tensai matches, with this forcing WWE to acknowledge the fact that yes, They were one and the same person. Needless to say then, from that point on, any menace which was supposed to be present in the character was gone, and it was difficult to take him seriously, even if he did get pinfall wins over both John Cena and CM Punk.
Yeah.
No, the problem here was there was just no way of believing that an excursion over to Japan had suddenly turned A-Train into a master of the martial arts.
Right.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, the gimmick of Lord Tensai would not be long for the world, despite WWE's initial plans for it. And so it was that by the time 2013 came around, the big man would be partnering up with Brodus
Yeah, look
Clay.
at this, bro. Look at this, bro. Mind you, this is Vince ideas. This is Vince. This is Vince. This is a Vince idea, bro. This is a Vince idea, bro. What? What are we talking about? I mean, it looked funny, but like, what are we talking about, bro? What is this? What is this? No.
He took on the dreaded dancing gimmick, a gimmick which has meant the end.
Don't look funny, but it looked like it's supposed to be funny, but it's not. It's like, I don't know, man. Our truth is better.
And for pretty much every performer who's ever been saddled with it throughout history. Still, at least Matt Bloom ended up having things work out for him in the long run, as after retiring from in-ring action in 2014, he'd find himself getting a nice job as head trainer with the WWE Performance Center, with this being a spot he continues to fill to this day. It's just a shame the same cushy behind-the-scenes job wouldn't be waiting for our next subject, Shane Douglas, after he played Dean Douglas in mid-90s WWF. Yes, we're going back to the era of wrestlers with jobs, that special time which gave us the likes of Duke the Dumpster Drosy, The Goon, Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS, and of course, Dean Douglas, a villainous high school teacher. Why was Douglas a high school teacher? Well, because prior to finding fame as the franchise of Extreme Championship Wrestling, Shane Douglas had actually been a teacher himself for a while. So when he eventually decided to leave the Revolution back in Philly behind and take the big money deal from Vince McMahon, this was what awaited him once his new boss learned about his prior life. Now, you could argue it should have been nigh on impossible to take someone with the charisma of 1995 Shane Douglas and not have him succeed. After all, this was the man who had literally started what was going on over in Paul Heyman's company with one of the most incendiary promos ever cut. Unfortunately, though, instead of him being a version of his ECW character, he was given a totally different gimmick to try and get over instead. Would he be successful in this? No. Because even if Dean Douglas had gotten over with some of the audience at the time, he still would have fallen victim to the backstage politicking of the Clique. That's right, if we know one thing about mid-90s WWF, it's that if you weren't on the good side of the group made up of Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and Sean Waltman, then you weren't going to get very far. And Dean Douglas found this out quickly enough himself. Hell, this was why his run with the Intercontinental title lasted all of a few minutes, and it was also why, come 1996, he'd have left WWF and returned to his old stomping grounds of Philadelphia once more. Could Dean Douglas have been something more? Sure, there was something there, we suppose. At the very least, it was Shane Douglas, so if he'd been given more time and space, we imagine he could have at least made some part of the gimmick work for him. But circumstances would sadly never allow that, and so his time in WWF would instead be all too brief and remembered only for the fact that he had to work with that gimmick of a villainous school teacher, a true cartoon idea of a heel, if we ever saw one.
Right.
But then this was far from the most cartoonish gimmick Vince McMahon ever gave one of his performers. No, years later, during the early 2010s, he'd create an even wilder one when he introduced us all to farting Natalya.
Oh no, I remember this. Oh man, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that. That was nasty. That was crazy. That, oh no. No, bro. No, bro. I remember this. I don't, why is this being brought back up? Why is this being brought back up, bro? The last active member of the Heart Foundation. You change her gimmick to farting Natalya is crazy. And I like Natalya. Natalya cool. She real cool, bro. And she's good at what she do. And I honestly would love to see her on screen more if they use her right. And like, I don't know. I just like. I thought she was cool when I was younger, and I still thought. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, despite being one of the best women's wrestlers of her generation and one of the few beacons of hope for the division during the Divas, the boss never saw Natalya as someone who could carry a division with her technical in-ring prowess. Rather, he thought she needed this character to get over. Unfortunately for the Hart family member though, the character McMahon created for her wouldn't be something good like Brett or Owen got. No, instead she'd be sent right down into the realm of comedy gimmick when, during a series of backstage segments, she suddenly started passing gas at random intervals. And this wasn't just any old gas. No, clearly Natalya had some intestinal issues going on at the time, as these farts were so bad they could pretty much knock out anyone who just so happened to be walking past at the time.
Why am I reliving
seemingly
this?
only one man thought this was entertaining, and that was Vince McMahon, and sadly he was also the man in charge at that time. So because of that, fans had to suffer through weeks of Natalya randomly farting during backstage segments, and even at one point in the ring, before the boss finally got bored of the whole thing and dropped it as abruptly as he did so many things back then. What would Natalya do after that?
Bro.
Well, she's gone back to being a great in-ring wrestler who helped to keep the division afloat during the down times, as well as the good times. Yes, thankfully this gimmick didn't have too much of a negative effect on her in the long term, as fans understood who was behind it and they loved her anyway. It's just a shame the same couldn't be said about everyone we've looked at today then, because while some were able to overcome their bad characters like Natalya did, others ended up falling into irrelevance because of it, with this showing just how damaging one bad gimmick can be for a performer.
Yep. Man, W video, man.
There have been a lot of great factions throughout wrestling.
Damn it. W video, man. W video. Let me know in the comments who else do you think had a real bad gimmick, or who you know had a real bad gimmick, but either came up off of it or they just faded into non-existence or non-relevancy. Yeah, man. That's the video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure you like it if you enjoyed the video. And hit that subscribe button if you're new. And turn on post notifications so you always know whenever I post a new video. With that being said, man, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.